Hurdle 3. Not considering other people's perspectives. Building inner confidence requires us to take responsibility for our own actions. Even in the most extreme circumstances and challenging life events, we often have a choice about how we react and how we respond. Dwelling on our past experiences can often cause more damage to our prospects than any colleague or line manager can ever do. Being confident requires an enormous effort to expect good things in our lives as well as the challenges. It's often about nurturing the skill and aptitude to move on from past hurts. For a practical example of this hurdle, let's hear from Capita's Damian on how he responds to difficult moments.
I still have bad days, like everybody has. And even the most positive people don't stop having bad days. But what you get good at, I think, is recognising the bad day for what it is and not extemporising from what is a bad day and making it feel like it's the biggest thing that you can't get past. So I think I'm probably pretty good at recognising when I'm having a down day and just containing it and just accepting it's a down day and moving on to the next day. And I think that helps because I think one of the reasons people have been so willing to support me and to sort of rally to my cause is people tend to be drawn to positive energy. And I hope that's something that's helped me in terms of the journey I've been on and how I've been able to work with others around it.
For a practical example of this hurdle, let's listen to a reflection from Fastmarket's Toby Burton.
One of the hurdles that I saw that I thought was particularly relevant and something that I would really hold quite closely in my mind was about, not blaming other people for the things that went wrong or the mistakes that were made or the lack of confidence. And it's so easy to do that and very tempting to, because life can be frustrating. It can be incredibly annoying to be a person with a disability or with deafness who is struggling their way through. And I remember when I was my younger self, I was 25, hugely ambitious, wanted a great job, wanted to be in that really professional working environment. And I was in a new product team, very innovative, creating new products all of the time. They were working on the Knorr stock cube. So it was a new product to market that was going to go out to supermarkets. I was really excited. It was a team that was hugely creative, full of a buzz of creativity. And I needed to create a business case for that newly innovated product. So I needed to work on a business case as to how we were going to release that product to market. So I'd worked with the team, and the only thing left to do was to present to the board for them to sign the business case off, and then the product would be released into the market. Everything else was in place. I was well prepared. I was really confident that everything was exactly where it should be. I booked interpreters. My favourite regular interpreters weren't available, so I found 2 interpreters I didn't know so well. I stood up at the front of the room full of confidence. I can do this. My presentation is amazing. I knew my business case inside out. I was hugely passionate about it. I stood up and I started to sign. And 5 minutes later, I looked around the room and there were furrowed brows. The board didn't look convinced. I looked at the interpreters and they were obviously struggling. They were struggling to voice over. They were veering off track. What they were saying wasn't really relevant to what I was saying. They were just struggling so much to understand what I was signing. And then, my business case looked like a loser. I mean, it just didn't look good at all. And my confidence was impacted so terribly. I wished I could fall down a hole and not come back out again. And I thought, I can't work in a place like this. There's barriers everywhere. It's such hard work. The interpreters did a terrible job. The board didn't understand me. And I could have blamed everybody. Everybody else in the room I could have blamed. I was so frustrated and I was so cross. I had failed. I was so hard on myself. It was such a failure. I went home and I procrastinated. I thought about it and I thought about it. And then I thought about it and thought, why am I blaming everybody else? Why was I so reliant on everybody else in that room? This is something I need to take responsibility for myself. So the next day, I sent a message and said, I realised that didn't go well. Can we do it again? I said to the board, because I'm absolutely confident I have the business case exactly where I should be. I said, can I give you a date? So I'm going to check when my interpreters are available, interpreters who understand me, who work well with me, and we will book the meeting again. So the meeting was set up. I stood up at the front of the room And it was like music to their ears. It was a totally different story. It landed beautifully. The board were excited. They saw how attractive the project was, and they said, yes, let's go. They knew it was going to be a success. And it was just such a different situation. And it changed my attitude so much. You know, I could have blamed the interpreters or I could have blamed the board, but there was really no point in doing so. I needed to take control of my own destiny. And I think that was a real learning that I took, and really gave me confidence to take control of situations.
Oh, wow.